give an overview of what the paper is about. Next slide. Okay. So this paper is actually looking at the Africa's push in terms of Africa joining the globe for sustainable development, and then we're looking at how this has therefore derived us or taking us into the issue of industrializing the energy sector, which has been identified as the main cause of climate change. And of course, for Namibia's case, green hydrogen has emerged as an industry that can capitalize for these emissions, and therefore in the late president's ambition, Dr. Hagedeng, he said we are to become a renewable energy hub of Africa through this green hydrogen industrialization. Then therefore it questions to say, in alignment with the African Agenda 2063, therefore how do we capitalize on utilizing that this resource or this green hydrogen resource is benefiting the whole African continent before it reaches the shores and the grounds of the international markets. And that's how the AfCFTA therefore comes in to say we capitalize on this framework which allows us to trade with our fellow African countries in order to leverage on the benefits of this industrialization. And then we also highlight the key challenges through this research in terms of then how do we integrate this AfCFTA in the market, given that we have the non-trade barriers, non-tariff barriers, and then of course we also have issues in terms of regulatory fragmentation as well as market dominance, as it was discussed mostly during these morning sessions. Next slide, please. So to just give an introduction to this presentation, therefore, green industrialization is a main key element in terms of eradicating climate change through economic diversification to ensure that the needs are met, but in a cleaner and more efficient way. And of course, the African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA is the only way that therefore creates a market, or is the strategy that creates a market within African countries themselves. And without this framework for Africa, it has always been difficult for Africa to be the off-takers of its resources due to the market dimensions that are already existing. And of course, we know there are issues of origin policies and all those other challenges. And then what we're trying to answer in this question or this research is that how do we utilize African Continental Free Trade Area to integrate the competition and then have an enforcement that therefore prevents competition within the African, but rather brings collaboration. Next slide, please. So to first highlight the opportunities that are around or that are presented by this framework, number one, of course, would agree that if this framework is allowed to operate at its full potential, then we as African nations will have market access and benefit from our own resources. I'll give a scenario, an example, to say Namibia is therefore looking at utilizing green hydrogen to produce ammonia. And Zambia, on the other hand, is one of the biggest producers of fertilizer that we have in the Southern African region. So therefore, imagine then that if Namibia becomes the biggest supplier of ammonia to Zambia, and then Zambia remains the biggest supplier of fertilizer, then there's benefits between the two countries to say we are selling our ammonia that is produced by the green hydrogen industry to our fellow Zambian counterparts, while at the same time we are purchasing their fertilizer to utilize within our agricultural industry. So there's also an issue of therefore creating a value chain in terms of beneficiation of our natural resources. We will also look at an opportunity, therefore, in terms of investment, because the AfCFTA itself, under the Agenda 2063, presents a protocol, therefore, which says that anything green deserves an incentive in terms of when investors pull money into that industry. Therefore, when we have this integration to say, as again I'll refer to an example that I alluded to earlier, to say, therefore, if we are buying manufactured fertilizer